Walter Gray was born in Newton, Mississippi, and raised in Chicago, Illinois. Mr. Gray's parents cut the hair of the boys in the family to save money. He was inspired by both parents to learn the trade. As a young man, he enrolled at Moeller Barber School in Chicago, and after graduation, he found immediate employment at the barbershop across town. While working in Chicago, he gained business experience and developed his skills as a barber. Shortly after marriage, he looked for opportunities outside of his trade to support his growing family. Mr. Gray visited Waterloo, Iowa, and found employment at John Deere Company. After working at John Deere for more than 10 years, he volunteered for a layoff to open a barbershop in his community. Gray's barbershop flourished, and he became well known for being one of the best African-American barbers in Iowa. When and where were you born?
I was born in Newton, Mississippi, 1939.
Newton, Mississippi?
Yes.
Wow, okay, all right. What was it like growing up in Mississippi?
Well, I left there at age 5, so I don't know that much about it. It was beautiful.
Okay.
And we lived in a government project type modern buildings. My dad was a railroad worker, and as such, we had those modern facilities, unlike the shotgun houses that I'd heard so much about, you know. But after age 5, we went to Chicago with the Great Migration. After the war, all the soldiers and everyone was on the move. And so I more or less grew up there in Chicago.
Tell me about how you got into the barber industry. Tell me about your first haircut. When did you?
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay.
Because
first haircut.
My dad was the barber in the family. He cut all the kids' hair. And so during my graduation from grammar school, I had my first professional haircut. And the barber just completely messed my hair up. From what I told him, I gave him instructions, and the guy just cut it the way he wanted to. And so I rushed back home and recut it, used my dad's clippers in order to take pictures for that afternoon. And so my brothers and cousins and all the kids in the neighborhood, you know, they kind of liked what I did, and they wanted a haircut. So I ended up that weekend cutting about 3 or 4 heads of hair. And the next weekend, it came back, you know, and so people started coming on such a regular basis. I said, well, 50 cents, you know.
Okay, 50 cents, huh?
And then some of the dads started coming around, and they were sending the kids there regularly. And so this was in 1954.
Okay.
By 1956, I had such a regular clientele that I literally went into business in one of the side rooms. My mom, she allowed me to go in there and set up a barbershop. And so then I did that for the next 3 or 4 years. And in 1960, I had worked enough that I saved enough to go to barber school.
So did your father, did he teach you how to, because you said he was the barber in the family.
He cut the hair in the family.
He cut the hair in the family?
Yes.
Okay. So
he wasn't a good barber.
He wasn't a good barber.
That's why my brothers and everyone then elected me, you know.
Okay.
But my mom was actually a better barber.
She
was. So,
okay.
Yes.
So your parents cutting your hair, was this a way to save money?
It was out of necessity.
Okay.
Economically, we really couldn't afford to have 4 boys getting their haircuts. You know.
4 boys.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So your mother, your father would switch off and cutting their hair and take turns.
Yes.
Your mother was the better.
She was better.
She was the better
but,
of the two.
You know, my father, you know, took charge. He thought that was a manly thing to do, but we preferred my mom. Yes.
And so here you are. You graduate from it was an 8th grade ceremony.
Yes.
Correct. Mm-hmm. And you're cutting your hair for the first time.
Yes.
Did you get any? So it just naturally came to you.
Yes.
Did it?
Worked at it. If it's something you don't like, then change it. Then work at it, and that's simply how haircuts works. It's not a trade. It's a profession, like doctors, lawyers, or sculptors. You work at it until you get it the way that you think that it's right, and so you have to use your own talents in order to achieve that.
With the success at such an early age that you were having with cutting hair, did you envision yourself being a barber, owning a business, growing up owning a business and being successful at it?
I always wanted to own my own business, and I saw where it might be possible, because as I developed the skills, and it was a matter of supply and demand. If people keep coming with money in hand, of course, then you realize that maybe you have something. And if I went to school, then I could increase my talents and increase the money. Okay. And so yes, it was a natural progression.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because you would go on to school and you would make it legal. Everything you were doing, you'd get the license. Tell me about that. Where did you go to school at? When and how?
I went to Moeller Barber College in Chicago. It was, in fact, the first barber college in the nation, and it was on the downtown section in the what they call the tramp section, or where the homeless people, I should say. They used to call them that, but the homeless.
Okay.
And we would cut the homeless hair. And because then the school would charge them very little money, if any, sometimes. And so, and in addition to that, we would go to the hospitals. The school would send the students to the hospitals to cut the people's hair there that needed it. And so I progressed pretty fast. Out of the 19 or 20 students that was there, I was the only black one. Okay. And then I had about half the clientele. I was doing hair at such a rate that I paid the first month or the second month tuition, and I was given the rest of the course free because of the amount of money that I was bringing in. But of course, I had to approach him about that. So he willingly says, yeah, well, you can have the rest of the course free. You just continue to do what you're doing.
Right after barber school, would you go work for someone else, or would you start going to business for yourself?
Well, the owner of the school, he offered me a barbershop, but I declined because I didn't want to work in that area. And so I went to work for a fellow, Ike Draper, and he had a barbershop there. And within a few months, I was the manager. And I managed that until I got drafted for the military.
And you said you were drafted into the military.
Yes.
Shortly after that, you would cut your barber career short for that time period, and
Well, it would seem so.
Okay.
But when I was in the military, I became the battalion barber. That's the unit. The unit would have a fund that they would do recreational things with, and they had the use of it. And so they set up a barbershop for me. And so I would cut hair from 8 in the morning until about 4 in the evening, unofficially, of course, you know.
Okay.
My job, I was a communication specialist, a field communication specialist, but I very seldom worked at it when we were in the barracks. But if we went out on field trips, of course, then I did my communication jobs. But other than that, I cut hair in the barbershop.
Your experience would extend into the service. This
Yes.
is great.
Yes.
And so then once you would leave the service, would you go to Chicago? Would you return to Chicago?
I returned back to the job. By law, if you're drafted, wherever you were drafted from, that company had to then give you that exact same job back. It was a requirement of the government. And so, of course, I went back to managing, stayed there a year, and then bought my own shop.
Okay.
But I stayed there in order to just get my feet back on solid ground and look around to see what I really wanted to do and find a location, and I did. And I opened up my own barbershop.
Tell me about Waterloo. Here you are in Chicago, and what events would develop or transpire that would cause you to leave Chicago and come to Waterloo?
Yes, interesting. The natural came into vogue, and Jackson 5 had the big naturals, and so everybody wanted one, and so people didn't want the haircut; they wanted more hair, and I looked around. This is 5 or 6 years later, and decided that it's time now to maybe go somewhere else while there's a lull in this business, and my wife had. At that time, I'd gotten married, okay. And my wife had a friend in Waterloo, and I brought her here for the weekend, and we got here Friday afternoon, and I was going to go back Sunday morning, but I liked the place. It had a charm about it. It's not the best looking place, but it was something that I kind of liked the people and the surroundings. And so, and the opportunity of working at John Deere's was another draw for us. So I rented a house, rented a shop, and went back. And my mom says, "Oh boy, did you go crazy? You know, you took your first vacation, and you're going to leave." So she thought it was kind of foolish on my part. But I saw something here, and it turned out to have been true. I'm very happy, and I'm happy that we made the move.
Mm-hmm. And so we have the afro and the curl. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
The afro and then the curl.
Okay. The afro. We have the afro to think then.
Yes.
The afro or the natural here you call it, right?
The natural.
Okay.
Or the afro.
To thank for having you come to Waterloo. Then, and also, you said John Deere was an attraction, important attraction for you.
Yes, absolutely.
What would you do at John Deere, and how long would you work there?
I approached the individual about my application, and he said, "Well, yes, there are some jobs because janitorial, but he says that you're overqualified for that, Mr. Gray." He says, "I wouldn't dare offer you that." And I was working out at Martin Marietta in LaPorte City, and I was making $7.95.
Okay.
And I asked him how much did it pay, and he said it was paying roughly about $10.50.
Okay.
So I told him I would take it for the $10.50.
Right. Now, during your time there, it's my understanding, John Deere was, known for laying off, for the layoffs, and a layoff would hit. Correct?
Yes,
and
that's correct.
This would this would be the point in which you would go into the barber business. This would be the event that would lead to a permanent stay into the barber business.
Yes, that's correct. I volunteered for a layoff, and I took an early layoff, and about a year later, then people started being laid off en masse. And by that time, I had set up the barbershop, knowing that that these people were going to need haircuts, and they were going to be out, and the storefronts and the business opportunity would dwindle if I waited, and so that's why I got out early, and set it up. It became successful right off the bat.
Okay.
As I cut one individual's hair, then they would tell people about it, or someone would ask about, how their hair looked, and ask who did it. I also, to stimulate interest, I had the storefront on 4th Street, I would put out building material. I covered all the windows and with paper, and they would ask, what's going to be in there? What's going in there? I'd say, well, you have to wait until I open the doors. Okay. And so rumors were flying all around the neighborhood. Well, it's going to be a jewelry store, or maybe it's going to be a little photo shop, and then some would say a barber shop, and so they would stop and ask, well, what's going to be here, you know? Because Waterlooans are curious about their neighborhoods anyway. And so I just let the rumors fly, and that piqued the interest of most of the people in the neighborhood. So when I opened the doors, of course, then those who had said barbershop were eager to prove that point, you know. So free advertisement, more or less, you know. And so that's, I think that was another reason why it kind of took off real fast. And we worked hard at it, and that kept it going.
Now, as far as your, I mean, because here you're coming to Waterloo, you open a barbershop. There were already barbershops that were existing. For example, Pep's Barbershop.
Pep's and Frazier.
And Frazier. Yeah. So here you're coming in, setting up your shop. What did you think about your competitors? You know, Pep, did you ever confide into him for any advice? What about Frazier? Did you ever confide in him or ask him for advice? Did you ever work with him or anything like that?
Well, I had gone to Mr. Frazier prior to my going to John Deere, and he said he wasn't interested in hiring anyone.
Okay.
And well, with Pep, after I got laid off, I went to him and I asked about employment, working with him, and he had a saxophone, and he would just play on the saxophone. He wouldn't say very much, especially after he found out I was a barber. In fact, I went back a couple of times, and he just played there, and he looked, and he didn't say too much. So I kind of had the idea that maybe I should just really go ahead and get my own shop right away. That was the other motivating factor. In fact, I told him, I says, well, if I don't work here, I'll work somewhere. And so.
And you did.
And I did. Yeah. I opened up down the street, you know. And,
what was the address? Because I remember going to that
1611 East 4th Street.
1611 East 4th Street. I remember next to the church, right?
Next to the, it was in the gas station.
Okay, all right.
Old Preby Oil Company building.
Okay.
It was the office portion, and and we did quite a bit of business because of the oil, the gas station, and we added to the gas station. They did quite a bit of business because of the barbershop. So it was a hand wash a hand type of thing.
That's right. Yes. Okay. And so then, so you're at this location how long?
From 83 to 93.
Okay, and then you would expand. So I know because you'd be there for the time, and you relocate, and you would expand. So you had obviously a lot of success where you were located, and you began to get a handle on the market as far as the clientele.
Well, my daughter went to a beauty school, barber school first, and then beauty school, and she was coming out, and so I saw a need to expand. I needed more room, and I bought the location at 211 Lynn, that's Lynn and Sumner Street, and expanded it, put in parking. There was no parking, there was dirt there in that facilities, revamped the building, and just improved it. My daughter now has the operate the beauty shop side, and I operate the barber shop side.
You worked with other youth in the community who've gone on and started their own businesses, learning from you, studying underneath you. Tell me about the gentleman. Tell me about two people that you studied or you mentored in the industry.
Trent is one. He's got his own barbershop. Bob He came by for, he worked in the shop a couple of weeks. He wanted to kind of learn a little bit more. And then there were barbers in Cedar Rapids that came down. I would tutor them a week or two.
Okay.
There's, who else is there? There are a number of people that, Chris Dickens, he was a barber that worked there. He was in a program, a school program, and he wanted to, I encouraged him to go into barbering and hired him.
Okay.
There are a number of individuals that have worked in the barbershop over the course of these years.
Tell me more about Trent. I met him, very interesting guy. I remember when he was in the shop working with you, and now he's on his own independently.
Yeah.
What was it like working with him? What type of guy? How would you describe his character, his attitude?
Oh,
his work
very
ethic?
bubbly, very funny. Trent is very comical, but yet a serious young man. Very dedicated to what he's doing, and he's a very nice person.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And so let's talk a little bit about Eric Thompson. He is working with you currently. He's one of your barbers, working for you, working with you.
Yes, Eric has been with me about 8 years now.
Okay.
And he's the manager of the barbershop. Okay. At this point, I'm doing less work, and I'm looking to retire. And so he's kind of taking the lion's share of the responsibility in the shop at this time. And also, he just kind of look after things.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you're teaching him the business side of it.
Yes.
He learned the business side of it. This is good. This is good.
Yes.
And so, obviously, he's having a lot of success there, working with you, generating a lot of business. In fact, I know you guys generate business, or you have always generated business across the state. I mean, people have come.
Oh, yes, yes.
Tell me about, why.
Well, I also want to talk about, there's a young man, Roderick Higgins. He's currently working with us also, and he just started a few months ago, but his business is taking off. He's doing a great job, and as a result, he's gaining a lot of customers. We've always attracted people from around the state. From Sioux City, we've had people come in. From Cedar Rapids, quite a few of those individuals. In fact, I had a shop there and tried to encourage barbers to go and work there. I maintained it for about 1.5 years, but no one was really interested in from here leaving, going there. So I eventually closed it. But we have people from Minneapolis, many of the Waterloons that spread out to these neighborhoods or different localities always come back. Cedar Falls, we have all those people. So yes, we're not short on customers.
Yeah, I know, because I've heard, I know of people in Des Moines who would come.
Yeah, Des Moines also.
Yeah, they would come for a special
Yes.
occasion if they had to get, a perfect haircut. They would make that trip from Des Moines. They would make it from Davenport.
Yes.
I have friends who went to St. Ambrose who would come and to get that perfect haircut. So,
well, thank you. We try hard. We don't know if it's perfect, but we're not lacking on trying. And that's one of the things that I think people realize, that we put our all into it. We give them their money's worth.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the social leaders, the political leaders, the educators from the community who come.
Basically, it's at one time or another, all of the individuals in Waterloo have been through. I really don't like to mention names, because if you leave someone out, of course, you can hurt feelings. But but I will throw out Walter Reed. He just left. He was a prominent customer. His wife brought all the kids, each one that was born, to just bring them to the shop. And so we've cut that family's hair. Mr. Porter, in fact, I just visit him. I go to his house now to cut his hair. Okay. He was such a support of the shop. He would advertise things for us, and we would support the radio station from the inception. So I'm very fond of Mr. Porter, and hope that he can recover and be back with us in the community also. There are a number of individuals.
Okay. Well, you mentioned Walter Reed, great guy. I've been to barbershop with him at the same time. A real good guy. In fact, he is one of many people who are on your wall of fame. Because you go into the barber, you have this wall here with these photographs, newspaper clippings of people in the community who are doing things.
Yes.
What inspires you to create the wall, and what does the wall mean to you?
Well, people in the community really didn't have an outlet. They would accomplish many things. And so I started posting little things from the paper, and it kind of grew out of that. Now I've got a wall full of things, and I'm encouraged to take it down and change it from time to time, but sometimes I don't do that as often as some people would like. But yes, I try to have the current points of interest up there, especially about personalities. I like personalities, and there are a number of things on that board that I've noticed you looking at several times. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm.
The wall is a good centerpiece. I like the wall. I think it's a good idea. Let's talk a little bit about an article in the Courier entitled African American Perspectives. Mm-hmm. They previewed Eric Thompson, one of your barbers.
Yes.
And he made front page, real nice shot of him cutting another gentleman's hair. And the dialogue, the article is really focused on some of the dialogue that takes place within the barbershop. Yes. We've known that the barbershop, especially in the African American community, is kind of a hub or a center for conversation and dialogue and expressing one's ideas, while you're waiting for the haircut. Tell me about some of the opinions, or why do you think that is? Why do you think the barbershop is a setting for people to express themselves?
Well, it's a natural gathering, especially for the black community. It's the one place that they can come and meet and discuss current issues, the problems. It's a place where they can relax. Okay. And so that's one of the reasons why it's a hub in a sense, rather than just say a tavern. Okay. People, they discuss all type of things, and friends meet up that normally or associates that they wouldn't see in other settings. They can see there in the black barbershop. That was one of the reasons why I wanted a larger shop also, because the one on 4th Street was small, but at the current location, it's large enough that an individual can watch TV and not be disturbed, or another group can talk, and several people can sit there, or there's a section where they can an individual can read magazines or paper, and so it's kind of all in all for the black community, and plus get their haircut at the same time. So people naturally gravitate to black barbershops. It's not only black barbershops are hubs, but I think all barbershops. It's an American tradition, and America seems to love their barbershops, and Waterloo is no exception.
Uh-huh. Why do you think your What would you say would be the key to your success? Why does your barbershop stand out from the others and your competitors?
We are sincere. We work hard. We really try to listen and to cater to people. We try to give them their money's worth, and people desire that. It's a relaxed atmosphere. In today's world, of course, we know there are bad elements in every community, and but I try to minimize those things in my shop. Everyone is invited, but I try to minimize rough talking or cursing or anything of that sort, and so people can relax. We have church people, we have people from professional individuals, so everyone feel free there. I try to discourage people from hanging around. It's not always possible, you know, because we cater to all individuals, but by and large, we're respected by everyone, and I'm very thankful for that. But we work at it.
Okay. I appreciate you making the time to come sit and share your life story with me, the business, all your success, because you are a community leader, definitely. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure.
Yes.